Hi, it's Dorothy Guiney with Scrapbooking Quebec. Welcome to a new edition of Tips and Tricks. Today, in addition to a layout process video, I will explain my thought process when creating a complementary page. I'm going to be creating the page you see on the left, and I created the other one last week on YouTube. And I will put a link to that video below in case you're interested. I am a double page scrapbooker, and I have two approaches to creating double page spreads. One is to create both pages simultaneously, treating the layout like one giant canvas, 24 by 12, and I used to almost always create my layouts that way. But with so much inspiration on social media for single page layouts, I had to find a new way. So my other approach is to create a complementary page after page one is complete. And that is the thought process I want to explain to you today. Each approach creates very different results, in my opinion. I find it fun to use both because it adds variety to my albums. So here is what I'm going to be using, and I have a bunch of leftovers from the project I created last week, and I saved everything. And when I create a single page and know I'm going to be creating a complementary page, I save absolutely everything. So I have scraps of paper, leftover die cuts, leftover stickers, and all of this comes from the Reminisce Winterscape collection. So the only thing I did at this point was mat a 5x5 photo in charcoal cardstock, and the photos on the original page are matted in the very same color cardstock. I have the leftovers, including the stickers. I did throw in, I should say, white and charcoal cardstock, which is what I used in the original page. I do have the collection handy in case I want to dig into it. I'm showing you what I have left over. I also threw in the dies that I used to create the embellishments because I may want to create more of them. And now what I'm going to show you is this Reminisce collection, because for today's particular project, I'm going to dig into it. This collection, I find it quite interesting because one side of the paper has these wintry scenes, and the flip side is a more user-friendly print, I guess. The wintry scenes are gorgeous, but they can be extremely intimidating to use. But because the layout I'm creating today only has one photo, for me, I find it a perfect opportunity to dig into one of these wintry scene papers. And what I'm going to create with it is a large border. So what I did was I cut it down at 8 inches wide by 12 inches. And now I have my jumbo custom cutting system from Creative Memories, and I'm cutting out a jumbo circle here, and basically a jumbo semicircle, I should say, because what I'm creating is a very wide border that I'm going to put on the page. And when I create a complementary page, typically the original page is more fussy. I spent a lot of time doing it. So the complementary page, I want to keep it simple. And a border page is a very simple page. This one's very wide. You can see I've layered up that semicircle with that charcoal cardstock because I find it pops off the page more. But essentially, it's a border. And what I'm also doing is creating a very narrow border for the far left, which is something I often do on my foundation pages. I cut that charcoal strip, in this case, at about 1.5 inches wide. I'm adhering it behind the foundation page so that it peeks out, I don't know, 3/8 to 1/2 of an inch. I will put measurements on the screen. So my foundation page turned out to be larger, and I had to cut it down once again to 12 by 12. Once that was done, then I'm adhering that large border over on the right-hand page. And then my foundation page is created. Super, super simple with 3 pieces of paper. So now I have all of my embellishing around me. I have my photo ready to go on it. And because the original page already has the journaling and it already has the title, all I really have to think about on this complementary page is the foundation page, the photo or photos, and the embellishments. So I'm starting by making a repetition of that forest of trees that you see on the original page. So I have 5 of them left over from last week, and that's exactly what I'm going to use. Those are die cuts from a die set from Elizabeth Craft Designs called Christmas Figures. It's a really cool die set. I will put it in the description box below in case you're curious. So basically what I did was I made a repetition of that forest that you see on the original page, but I kept it smaller. So that is definitely something I do when I create a complementary page. I'm looking for repetition, especially not only with the paper and colors, but also with the embellishments. But I don't want them to be identical. I don't want that forest to be as big on the complementary page as it is on the original page. So now, once I played with placement of the trees and the photo, now I'm adhering them. And what you saw me do a moment ago was take out a pencil and I just marked on the foundation page the tops of the trees, just so that I would remember where I liked the placement, so that when I went to adhere them, I would remember where to adhere them. I did the very same thing with the photo as well. And what I'm looking for the placement of the trees and the photo, I want them to be more or less at the same levels as on the original page. So that forest that you see on the page I'm creating today is kind of at the same height on the page as it is on the right page. The same thing for that photo on the left-hand page. Basically what I measured was the distance from the bottom of the page to the bottom of the photo, to make it equal to that on the right page. What you see me playing with right now is a scrap of a border strip. You saw that a moment ago. I'm just kind of repositioning my photo once again right now. But I want to talk about that because on the original page, I put this 12-inch border strip underneath the photos. It's almost like a shelf, but I cut it off. I cut it about an inch off. What I did was I saved it. And when I mentioned earlier, I save every little scrap when I create a page, when I know I'm going to be creating a complementary page, because even tiny scraps can make a big difference in my opinion. That little tiny border strip, there was only one of them on the sticker sheet, so I didn't have 2 of them to put one on each page. So I kept that little end of it so that I could put it on the complementary page. Now, right now I have it underneath the photos. You're going to see I remove it, and later on it still gets incorporated on the page. I still think it has an effect even though it's super small. I guess what I'm trying to impress upon you right now is even a tiny repetition of something on the complementary page can make a difference. Now I'm going into the sticker sheet, and I have that little house there, and I tucked it in up in the forest amongst the trees. And if you look at the original page, there is also a sticker of a little house stuck within the trees. You can see the little chimney coming out. So what I'm doing here is creating a repetition of that very same embellishment cluster that's on the original page. I'm making a repetition of that on the page that I'm creating here today. Again, 2 different sizes, but they are definitely repeating. It's a repetition here, and that helps relate the 2 pages together. I do have snowflakes on the original page, die cut snowflakes. You're going to see me get out those in a minute and play around with them a bit. I am going to want to repeat those snowflakes again using the principle of repetition on the page that I'm creating here today. So I tuck a few in and around here, but then what you'll see me do as well is go into the sticker sheet before I actually commit to sticking those snowflakes down. I am really down to the finishing touches at this point. So what I'm taking now are 2 stickers, a little snowman and a little person. And I'm going to be sticking them over on the left-hand side of the page, kind of at the bottom of that photo there. What I'm looking for here is to create a visual triangle. At this point, everything is kind of lined up. The photos are lined up, the forest is lined up, and all I'm really focusing on is repetition with the paper, with the embellishments. But right now, I want to incorporate a very subtle visual triangle. And on the original page, that house sticker that is above that middle photo and the title, which is below that middle photo, are both in this dark teal color. So I looked on the sticker sheet to find something in that color, and that little person there has a scarf in that very same dark teal. And even though it's small and even though it's subtle, it still creates a visual triangle. Now I'm coming in with those snowflakes there and incorporating in the middle of those snowflakes a little glittery enamel dot. And that is just simply repeating the snowflakes that I incorporated on the original page. But that is it. So you can see the page 2, or the complementary page, is super, super simple. It's a border layout, which is very simple, with one photo and basically one main embellishment cluster that is a repetition of what is on the original page. And just to review here, I got a little piece of paper. I just want to review this for a moment with you. When I create a complementary page, I use the same material. I save all of the scraps from the original layout, even tiny snippets from a 12-inch border strip. They do make a difference. I also keep the complementary page simple because the page 1, the original page, is typically the showcase page. So I don't want to take away attention from the original showcase page. I don't want them to compete against each other, so I keep it simple. I always use repetition, not only for the paper, but also with the embellishments. It just unites the two pages together, like I did with the trees and the stickers. And finally, at the very end, I did come in and incorporate, even though it was subtle, a visual triangle by repeating that dark teal color in 3 spots in a triangle across the 2 pages. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, Scrapbooking Quebec, I would be absolutely thrilled if you did. And if you are a subscriber, thank you very much. I'll be back soon on YouTube, so have a great day. Bye-bye.